take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Of course, good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, created by whom? We the people, created by you, your tax dollars, etc., 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 now controlled by the billionaires, which we intend to make honest, to make and take it back for you. Anyway, folks, without further ado, let's throw it to the studio before we begin the program for those geniuses that keep magically or keeping things alive. How you doing, senores? El señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bibber.
Well, Howard's engaged right now by our first caller, so here we are. Here we are at the radio again.
I'm back. I'm here.
He's back. You know how you remember that thing? He's back.
He's back. Yeah, they're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if you're hearing this, but I hear some artifacts. I don't know if you guys hear it on your side or if it's just something on my side.
I don't know. We're not hearing anything here. You're coming in loud and clear. Okay. You, along with our friend Neil Aquino, whom one of his protesters I met the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Richard.
Where were you? What?
Well, I was here at the station. Richard came by and said, I was out protesting with with Neil today, but I don't want to come by and make a donation. So we thank you, Richard, for that.
Yeah, Richard's the real deal. He lives a long way away, but he comes in.
He does, yeah. I was amazed. I'm like, whoa, you live a long way from here.
Yeah, he does it every week. Yep.
So he's a nice guy. Dropped off a donation to us, and we appreciate that because that is how we fund this radio station. We don't get funds from the government. Thank God we don't, because then they would tell us what to do, and we could tell them what to do. So that's how we fund the radio station. We're getting ready to do a fund drive coming up next week, I believe, and it's going to be a very important fund drive to keep this free voice in Houston. So do keep tuned and do donate to KPFT. And Jack has almost a full page of wisdom here, and it's probably more important than my prattle this morning.
Good morning,
Jack.
How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. All right. Republicans just voted for the largest Medicaid cut in history. Why has the Republican Party abandoned their duty to care about and for the health and security of all American citizens? Cuts to Medicaid will most definitely hurt the poor and the working poor who can't afford health care in the first place. Tax breaks for the wealthy are small consolation to the uber rich for politicians willing to sell their souls to inflict pain on innocent Americans in need of medical help. This is sad and shameful, and the American voter must put a stop to it. Put a stop to it.
Jack, the government is not representing the people now. It's not even helping us. It's imprisoning us. It's ripping us off. And this is what we got. I think we can do better.
All for profit, baby. All for profit.
Now, the government services are paid for by us, the people.
The taxpayer.
Why do we not get them? Why are we not getting our services? I mean, this is really upsetting. And they all the time, oh no, we're not going to make cuts to Medicare. We're not going to make cuts to Social Security. Oh no, we're not going to do this.
He lied.
We knew he was going to do this. And he lied, and he did it. So there you go.
He tricked y'all.
Yeah, it's interesting because what is more disconcerting is there is a right-wing media engine that is very effective, and they're very effective in convincing a group of folks of the way things really are not. And it's every day, it's unrelenting every day that people continuously hear this. And what is interesting is those who follow what they're saying don't realize that these people are actually not only harming them, but harming all those they purport to love. But anyway, welcome Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, and my brother from Katy, Glenn Ryan. Glenn says, if only we had a party in favor of single payer healthcare. I am with you, Ryan. You know that we need to make the party pick that up by again, and we are going to have to do the work. We have to do the heavy lifting. We have to let people know. I mean, believe it or not, there are actual progressives out there that just aren't sure about single payer either. We have a lot of work to do. Anyway, without further ado, we have in the house today El Señor Neil Aquino. He's the Houston Democracy Project founder, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. How you doing? How you doing, my brother?
Great. I'm doing well. It's another great day ahead. Hello, everyone locally and across the globe listening to Politics Done Right.
We have folks, people say, you say around the globe. Man, we have people in England, we have people in Australia, we have people in Barcelona, Spain.
Yeah.
Folks, some of them are expat. There are a couple of them that started following us out of Canada. Reverend, I forgot the name of the guy. He's followed us from Canada, and I wrote an article about people not trusting America anymore, and it's going to take us a generation to recover. After all, the first time we elected Donald Trump, people look at this as a mulligan. Okay, everybody gets a chance to make a mistake. And after all, it was Donald Trump did lose the election in 2016, but the flaw of the Constitution that works on with an electoral college that doesn't have to match the popular vote brought him in. So we got a mulligan for that. But this last time, uh, Donald Trump kind of him winning, a thug winning. It's like, guy, America, it's on you now. We all have to start looking for other directions now. But anyway, Neil, what are we gonna start with today with your with some of the stuff that you blogged, my brother? I know you were
Well,
pretty
this is
active
at
around
the
the
Houston
city.
Democracy Project blog and um, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. And this is really I wanted to highlight a portion of a Trump executive order of May 9th. I always try to keep it to some local angle, but last week we talked about the Trump executive order that makes police almost impossible to prosecute. The new Houston Police Department contract, which makes it more difficult to discipline them locally, just like we did with the firefighters. The police and firefighters now have 60% of our city budget. If you can imagine that, 60% of our city budget. I was listening to a budget hearing yesterday. The Houston Housing Department is 98% federally funded. Okay, this is an
Wow.
aside, but I just wanted everyone to hear that the Houston Housing Department is 98% federally funded.
I want you to explain something because if it's 98% funded, that means that any cuts coming from those folks in Washington materially affects our housing. Materially, if 98% of it, that and
Let me
it is sad that it's 98%, but continue.
right, man. It was they do a budget process each year. It's budget season there, and there are a whole bunch of separate little hearings about the different departments, and it's a bit too much for me to get my full head around. But I watched housing because I knew that housing and health have significant federal processes of money. I'm going to watch the health department one today. The gentleman said something like 154 of 175 positions. I may be missing that by a small amount, but that's what it was. Are federally funded, and they didn't think that the cuts would matter so much for the year ahead. Although there were some specific awards they were worried about, but for 2027, they're doing the 2026, but for the 2026-27 budget, that they don't know. They don't know. And then the health department is going to take similar. And FEMA,
Hmm.
next flood, next hurricane. You saw a few weeks ago where Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asking Trump to give money for some tornadoes in Arkansas. She unbelievably is the governor, and they wouldn't give it. They wouldn't give it. They wouldn't give it to their own person, to their own state. So as we talk about Houston's budget and Houston's financial health, it's tied to the federal government, and there's some real stresses ahead. There's some real stresses ahead. Um, but I wanted to talk about this executive order. I'm just going to read this paragraph. This is May 9th executive order about ICE. No later than 60 days after the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Homeland Security, that's the dog killer, Noem, shall supplement existing enforcement and removal operations by deputizing and contracting with state and local law enforcement officials, former federal officials, officers and personnel within other federal agencies, and other individuals. Okay, so process that, folks. Other individuals to increase the enforcement and removal operations force of the Department of Homeland Security by no less than, so it could be more, no less than 20,000 officers in order to conduct an intensive campaign to remove illegal aliens who have failed to depart voluntarily. So, other individuals, so anybody, January 6th people, anybody, and
Well,
that they'll,
it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
what's,
Neil. I'm sorry.
oh no, they'll disappear you. I mean, we've seen what this is. These folks are coming up. They are wearing Proud Boy type bandanas sometimes, or other times they are militarized like a war. Maybe you saw some of the clips from Worcester, Massachusetts, where the neighbors tried to stop them. They're dressed as if for war. All of this stuff is real. All of this stuff is real, and we can believe that, but I think we have to hear it over and over again. All of this stuff is real. I watched a clip with Steve Bannon. Excuse me for not keeping it local here, but I watched a clip yesterday. It was yesterday or 2 days ago. Steve Bannon said they intend to suspend habeas corpus if the courts don't go their way. They intend to provoke a constitutional issue, and Trump intends to run for a third term. Um, and at the top of this post, it's my May 10th post, I have a picture from 2018 where State Senator Carol Alvarado, who has a $2.5 million, $3 million campaign bank, but does not nearly enough to help local Democrats running, and Sylvia Garcia, the Congresswoman, are behind an abolish ICE banner. This is 2018. Remember all that?
Oh
Remember, now
yeah.
today it should be abolish and prosecute ICE. Is what it is. And where's that energy today? Where is that energy today? And that was the flavor of the moment in 2018. And now we need that energy to be protecting our civil liberties, right at home. Call Carol Alvarado and say where's that energy today?
The hating on others is a very easy thing to do, and creating a false narrative of folks who are doing harm is an easy narrative. And this attack on immigrants, whether documented or undocumented, is going to come back and haunt. Now, you mentioned about suspending habeas corpus and all
Mhm.
these other things, and the potential that Donald Trump will run for a third term. I mean, the only reason to fix that magical plane that he just got, that luxury plane that he just got, is if he's going to be in office more than another 3.5 years, right? Because after all, it's going to,
Democracy. It isn't just
whoa,
Right, right.
it's going to take a couple of it's going to take a couple of years to turn that plane into Air Force One if they were to do it. The truth of the matter is they're not going to do it. I can give some technical reasons why they likely won't do it. Only if he becomes king will they attempt to do that. And in that case, I don't even think you would want that plane. You don't want a 13-year-old plane. You want a new plane if you're going to become the not only the Führer for the MAGA, but Führer for the entire country. But that said, uh, I think it's important for folks to understand that it is engagement that's going to stop this kind of a stuff. And I think yesterday I wrote a post about stop talking too much about the airplane. Let's not talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk, in this case, locally, let's talk about what's going to happen in the grocery store. You pointed out that I think when as you've been going around the county, you found that a lot of the constables have told you things to the effect that a lot of kids are not going to school out of fear. And it's go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it was a justice of the peace. And just for point out, there are in Harris County, each of us have two justices of the peace. It's divided into eight two-person districts, and they handle cases, I think, up to $20,000. They handle some truancy cases. They handle um, evictions and a wide range of smaller cases. And a JP up in Baytown, I spoke to the Baytown area Democrats, said that a number of that attendance was down. Excuse me, that attendance was down in school. That the kids were afraid to go, and it was difficult to hear. And there are no matter where you live, there are active people. I want to say that too. You're in Baytown, Laporte. Look for your fellow. You're not alone. And I spoke in Baytown. Let me pull up my post. And I just talked about things that you can do. I appreciate being asked. These were rank and file Democrats, rank and file folks. So it's an honor to be asked. Let's empower each other. Let's empower each other. Just spoke about some things that you could do. Call people like Carol Alvarado and Rodney Ellis and ask them to do more with the millions of dollars they're sitting on. Foul local and municipal politics. We just had our May 3rd elections where there were a number of book banning type people were defeated. There were significant gains in Katy, Texas, and then also in some of the Dallas area. You can defeat these folks. I think we need to have frank discussions in our homes about self-defense and what that looks like for you. As always, I said the next protest is when you organize it. That's when you organize it. And the First Amendment is your permit. Most protests are not um, permitted. I think we should be open with ourselves and the people in our lives that this is a mental health crisis. I said that, and I said that we should support local efforts like the Houston Democracy Project and Egberto Willie's Politics Done Right, and that when we support local autonomous sources of information, that we are supporting ourselves.
That is so important. Now, I want to point out something. With all that we talk about, a lot of times people say that we are, we are flying on things that a lot of people aren't concerned about. And what really is happening is that we talk about things that eventually affect the things that will affect people. As an example, the immigration attacking undocumented workers and throwing these folks out of the country and all of that may do something for those people who are wired to hate or those people who are wired to seek, to just harm. But the reality is, first of all, undocumented folks are in the United States because there is a waiting, there, believe it or not, and this, a lot of people don't get this, there's a waiting job for them. Most people that are undocumented here in the United States are here because there is a job waiting for them. And as these people are scared to go to work, as these people are thrown out of the country, there is going to be a material effect on our economy. I want to point out that your vegetables are starting to rise, as you can see with your own eyes, your tomatoes, etc. Because guess what? A lot of these immigrants that are the ones in the field picking these crops are no longer there to do it, and the farmers are hurt. And unfortunately, ABC, CBS, NBC, and these folks are not out there in these fields to talk to these farmers. But these farmers are talking, and I'll be getting a few of them online to let folks understand what the meanness that we have with these immigrants, as opposed to trying to have some sort of a comprehensive immigration reform by putting armies out there like you just read. You just read the executive order to
Yeah,
deputize crazy
yeah.
people with guns.
Anybody, it says
Deputize
anybody,
anybody
anybody.
to go
That's
ahead
right.
after these our workers. And the truth of the matter is, look, there won't be a whole lot of folks, including hosts, that go out there and say, you know what, the our undocumented workers are actual people within our economic system that are necessary. We should make it we should make it we should have reform to legalize these things appropriately, but it is what makes our economy go on. For those of you who are on social security and Medicaid, etc., these people who are undocumented, for when they work for somebody, they get social security numbers, they pay FICA, social security taxes, they pay Medicare taxes, and they can't use any of it. I know
Right.
personally of an undocumented worker right now that I keep in touch with to learn about how things are happening, right? This guy, when he has to get health care, there's a whole healthcare system underneath here that undocumented workers use, undocumented folks use. And it is all cash, and it's all credit that they have with the provider, etc. There are all these mechanisms that they have created on their own within this country where they're paying these taxes. And while your Führer has been lying about how these guys are taken from America, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. America is taken from the undocumented worker. Let's get that straight. A lot of folks are scared to tell the truth because, oh my God, if I speak well of the undocumented worker, I am somehow a bad American. No, we are taking advantage of the undocumented worker. It's not the other way around. The numbers says it all. Continue, my brother.
And along those lines, if you can stomach it, the birthright citizenship case
Oh
is
God,
heard today.
yes, yes.
So, and if you're interested in that, if the live live audio proceedings are on C-SPAN at 9 o'clock. So the case that they're hearing, so Trump made the executive order about birthright citizenship. It's painful even to talk about. I read a story in the New York Times today about this was a fringe legal theory, and how many times that it sounds like the name of a racehorse, fringe legal theory, and how many times have we heard it's a fringe legal theory, and a minute later it's before the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
And so this Trump's executive orders ending birthright citizenship. Um, the case is about essentially the judges stopping the executive order, but the Trump people just want the court to validate it. So you can listen to it at 9 a.m. Central Time on C-SPAN. There's a cspan.org website, and I'm a big fan of C-SPAN, and I've read some stories. They're because fewer people have cable. It's always been cable funded, always nonprofit. They solicit donations in ways that they didn't used to. They're trying to get on streaming services. It's a tremendous resource. But there's a library of Supreme Court cases that you can listen to. They're really interesting. They tell you which justice that is speaking. It's all audio. But anyway, the birthright citizenship case is today at 9, and I guess we'll have a sense from how the justices talk and ask questions. And again, I'll just say all this again. They'll undo birthright citizenship, and then they'll start to question the citizenship of people whose parents maybe no longer would have qualified for citizenship. So they want to undo people's citizenship. They want to disappear you. This is a white supremacist shop, and it is it's coming for you, and they want to have the capacity to remove you. None of this stops when undocumented persons or people they say were, their parents came here cynically just to have the child on American soil. None of this stops with this. And here in Houston, this is what could be a more urgent matter in
Well,
a diverse Harris County, Houston.
it's the creep. It's the creep. What that means is they're slowly coming at it. I mean, if you listen to what the president has said, let's take and let me get a bit personal here. As a naturalized citizen, and for all of those of you who are listening to me, Houston has a very large percentage of naturalized American citizens, right? This particular what's occurring at the Supreme Court today has a material effect on you, because what if folks are not guaranteed birthright citizenship, that is actually, I think, with 14th Amendment is what we're looking at,
Yeah, yeah.
pieces within the 14th Amendment, which also covers, it's not just birthright, it also covers naturalization, etc. What that means is that if you're born elsewhere, and by the way, a lot of folks in the Trump administration, they've been born elsewhere, including his wife,
Yeah.
okay? Including his wife. But let's remember, they will have a legal methodology to simply
Hmm.
get you the hell out of Dodge. Like I've told many people already, one of the reasons I've restricted my own travel is because my passport. It's an American passport. I am an American, but it says that I was born somewhere else. And everybody that is hearing my voice, probably over 25-30% of Houston that are not natural born citizens, beware. Anyhow, Neil, anything else you got to say before I start taking some calls?
No, let's take a call.
All right, let's go to Lester. Come on in, Lester.
Wow, I'm totally. I didn't know you was gonna have a guest. I want to I'll say Steve for tomorrow. I said yesterday that who of us, we always criticizing Donald Trump. I think the man doing a great job myself. But a lot of people criticizing Donald Trump for accepting a gift from a so-called enemy, and I said that most of us on our job, we work for racist people, but do we turn down their gifts? So it's just too much hypocrisy.
Well,
And then
Lester, hold on. But one point at a time. Let me ask you this: do you believe in the Constitution or not? Because
yeah,
the Constitution doesn't
of
say.
course I do.
Lester, hold on. The Constitution doesn't say that I can't take a gift from a racist employer. The Constitution doesn't say that I can't take a gift from anybody else. But the Constitution does
But
say
most of
that
us do.
sir, hold on a second. The Constitution says that the president cannot take a gift from a prince, a potentate, or any other person. That's what in the Constitution. So this isn't a thing that says, well, since we will take gifts from anybody, it's hypocritical of us to charge a president with taking that $400 million gift. I don't even have a problem with the gift being $400 million, because Donald Trump is ripping us off with the Bitcoin, with the crypto coin, and a lot more. Okay, so I'm not even talking about it. I'm
You
just
know,
saying, if you believe in the Constitution, Lester, my brother, if you believe in the Constitution, then a president cannot take a gift from a foreign country unless Congress gives him the authority to do so. That's within the letter of the Constitution. So that's where we're at. It's not about hypocrisy, it's about
okay.
Constitution.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get off. And no disrespect, there, Berto, but you and the guests been, and it's your show, but y'all been talking 30 minutes. I talked for 10 seconds, and you cut me off. But it's your show. But this the other point I want to make. I mentioned yesterday, because y'all keep talking about Medicare and Medicaid, and people can't afford health insurance. I was the first caller yesterday to say people need to change their diet That's 90% of most of people's problems, why they got to go to the hospital, because they don't eat right. I was the first person to say that yesterday. You didn't say nothing about that. But after I said it, every other caller started talking about it, man. So, come on, man. Give Donald Trump a chance. He's a good man. See
Okay,
y'all later.
no, no, no. I want to ask you something. I want to ask you something. This is
I got to
important.
go, man, because you going to cut me off. You
No,
ain't
no,
going to
no,
let me go.
no, Lester. Lester. That's first of
What?
all. Listen to the tapes. The person who cuts off is when I'm asking you a question, like you just did. That's a cutoff. I let people speak. I listen to my own tapes after the show. I let people speak. I have but since we're in timely, there are times that I have to cut you at a break. My question to you is: you said Donald Trump is doing great things. I want our audience to hear what great things have you seen him done that has moved the country forward. Go for it.
He's getting rid of all these illegals.
Okay,
He's
that's
making
good. Oh, I
America
asked you. I
great
asked you that. Good,
again.
good, good.
You asked me a question, but you keep cutting me off, brother.
No, I
Damn.
am I am getting one at a time. You said when you answer the question about one thing, I'll stop you and then I'll make a comment and then ask you to tell me the other thing. Okay, instead of
Okay, go
getting
ahead. Go
irate,
ahead.
wait, stop. Instead of getting irate, let's have a
I'm not
conversation.
getting
Not an
irate.
not There you go, you interrupted me again. Not a narration. Okay, here
Well,
we go. Here we
Negro.
go. Here we go. All right, you see that is what
Let me
wh-
um,
go ahead, Neil.
let me say this. I googled presidential gifts,
Hmm.
and it came. The first thing it took me was the Ronald Reagan Library. Even though heads of state have traditionally exchanged gifts as expressions of goodwill, the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, prohibits anyone in the U.S. government from receiving a personal gift from a foreign head of state without the consent of Congress. And then there's another federal, but it's even Ronald Reagan, you can keep a domestic gift. So there's a picture here of Tommy Lasorda, the old manager for the Dodgers, gave him a Dodgers jacket.
Hmm.
Him and Nancy, maybe they kept that. Okay, you can keep the domestic gift, but you can't keep the plane.
Right.
You can't keep the plane. So
Now,
some
what you saw with Lester, and one of Lester's friends called in yesterday and said this as well, is whatever you have all these people that support Donald Trump that will call with talking points, and when you start to interrogate them one at a time, it falls apart, and that's what they can't handle because they just listen to what Fox News tells them, and when we go ahead and break it down and destroy the premise that it's made on, they don't have anything to say after that. Let's go to Brother Harry. Come on in, Brother Harry.
Good morning, Brother Roberto. Good morning, Neil Aquino. Good
Hello.
morning, Howard. Good morning. Well, there's like 4 points I want to make. First, I want to comment on what Lester was saying about the gift, and Neil Aquino's right about that. The president cannot accept foreign gifts or uh, domestic gifts. I was looking at that, and he's talking about how people have to eat right. That's fine. People can eat right and do all that, but there are people who still can't afford private insurance. That's why That's why Medicaid, a safety net, was set up. People are still going to have health problems. And Lester needs to understand that. It doesn't matter. Even if they eat healthy, they still can have something go wrong with their health. They can have a cancer tumor. They can't pay for that. They can have other health issues, arthritis, or things like what I'm dealing with, my bone spurs, and still dealing with my knee. And I mean, I have my insurance, but I don't. But there are people who don't have that. So Lester's got to understand that's what the Medicaid was set up for when they did the Great Society with LBJ. Now, I want to talk about a bit the habeas corpus. When I was looking some stuff up here, I think it was Roger Taney and Abraham Lincoln butted heads with that because Roger Taney, after the Civil War, was saying that only the Supreme Court has the right to suspend habeas corpus, and they did it then. They did it after the Civil War with the Ku Klux Klan, when they were terrorizing people. It happened again in World War II in Hawaii, so they could arrest Japanese Americans. So it talks about how they only do that when it's a rebellion or an invasion. And all these people that are undocumented illegal, they just want their day in court. And this Stephen Miller wants to suspend all that. And I don't think, and the Constitution states that they're supposed to, that it is constitutional, and they don't have the
Harry,
right to suspend that because they
exactly,
have to
exactly,
have the same and all that.
exactly, Harry. I got to go, but here's the deal. How good did it work when they interned the Japanese, right? Let's be frank here.
Yeah,
There's nothing ever good whenever we talk about the suspension of habeas corpus. Nothing good ever occurs from
right,
it. But thank
right.
you, my brother. I got to go ahead and give Augie a
All right, I'll
chat,
call you
okay?
tomorrow.
All right.
Warren.
Have a
All right,
wonderful
take
day,
care.
sir. Brother Augie, come on in, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Originally, I was going to call in and talk about Brian. He calls in on the 8 o'clock show, too. And Tuesday, he said something about it was okay for Trump to accept the plane and the billions of dollars he's getting from the Middle East because he called it capitalism. That's not capitalism, that's greed. And people that call themselves Christian, greed is one of the deadly sins in the Ten Commandments, but people seem to forget about that. And
It's
and
also
then,
illegal. I mean, it's also unconstitutional.
yeah,
Let's make it clear. Look, here's the funny thing about it, Augie. I am glad that you're talking about it, but when it comes to what put foods on people's plate, what one of the things I'm telling folks that are out there is, yeah, point out that this is a wrong thing to do, but let's concentrate also on what's going to put food on people's table. But continue, my brother.
but another thing was Hillary Clinton couldn't keep a necklace because came from another country. If she can't keep a necklace, but he can keep billions of dollars in a plane, hypocrisy right there. And then Brian yesterday called about a library, how they're putting out porn out there to our elementary school kids. And I worked in a library. Well, my first job out of high school was working at a library, and so I like libraries. And I volunteered at an elementary school where my kids went for 2.5 years, and there was no porn in there. But I don't know where Brian gets his information. He never does says that. But then when Neil Aquino said this today about some of these government that we need federal funding, yesterday was announced that Cleveland lost their hospital because they lost their federal funding,
There you
and
go.
the employees only got 4 hours notice that they were without a job, and had
Yeah.
to put a note on their doors about where people could get help, medical help, in another town. And and federal funding is being cut in a lot of different places like that. They're cutting down funding for mental health too. And I know Republicans, Trump supporters, talking about their kids. They can't find any mental health for their kids. Uh, they voted for it.
You know,
The Republicans cutting down mental
Augie,
health. George W. was
Augie,
governor.
my lines are filled up, but you're so right about
Yeah.
what you're saying. These folks are going to start to see the actual result of what hate buys. Thank
Let
you, my
me.
brother. Go
I
ahead,
want. I
Neil.
want to
Thank.
just really quickly. Lester's point. Kennedy says that only the weak died of COVID. Secretary Kennedy. This is all part of an argument where they want to be able to deny you care because it's your fault. You ate this. You smoked that. You drove too fast. People should listen to what and why don't they complain about the issues of malnutrition and food deserts as
Thank you.
equally? But what you need to listen when they're blaming you for being sick. Yes, there are things you should do, but you should listen to where that's going.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Neil. Hey, Augie,
Uh,
thank you, my brother. Let me
uh,
go ahead and pull Bruce
yeah.
in.
Yeah, but there's one thing. The food doesn't have much to do with everything about your medical problems. Sometimes it's genetic. And our
There you go.
veterans, it wasn't the food. It was the wars
Yeah,
they
the
experienced.
genetics.
It was.
Yeah, they
It
want
was.
to get
It
they want
was
to weed you out of that too. Yeah.
over,
Oh
over
yeah, that's
orange,
exactly it.
Agent Orange. Hey, Augie, I got to go to
But
Bruce. Thank you, my
thanks.
brother. I'll
Bye-bye.
talk to you tomorrow, brother. Peace. Bruce,
Thank
come on in.
you.
Bruce. We'll get to Bruce in a second. There you go.
No, I'm here.
The last caller said something I was going to say. A lot of diseases, genetic cause, like Huntington's disease, and I'm not going to start naming them off, but there's a bunch of them. Someone needs to mail Lester a copy of the Constitution. Our loyalty is ultimately to the Constitution, not the party or individuals. And third is I have a concept. When you go into the military or the police department, you have to go through a basic training. Now, this won't happen, but it's my concept. I'm going to say it anyway. ICE agents should be, as part of their training, forced to go pick vegetables stooped over in a field. They ought to spend one day on a hot tar roof when in Texas sun where it's 130 degrees. They ought to have one day where they're given a chainsaw and told to take down a tree. They ought to have one day where they're put in a kitchen and told to whip up some menudo and carne asada. I'm done.
Man, Bruce, I love you, man. I love that.
Yeah.
That sarcasm burns, and but I'm with you. Thank you, Bruce.
I'm a
Have a
smart
great
ass.
one.
I'm a smart ass. Yeah, I'm a
But
smart
a
ass.
good one, a good one. All right, thank you, Bruce. Let's go to Brother Gonzalo. Gonzalo, no he oído de ti en mucho tiempo. Gonzalo, did Gonzalo disappear on us? Gonzalo once, Gonzalo twice. All right, let's go ahead. Gonzalo, call back if if it is that you're having phone problems. Let's go to Gil.
Before we get, since we love Gonzalo, the caller referenced the hospital in Cleveland. I want to make sure people know. It's Cleveland, Texas, right up the road.
Yeah.
Texas Rural Hospital in Cleveland. It's Cleveland. It's a hospital right up the road in Cleveland, not Cleveland, Ohio, though that would matter too. But this stuff is local.
Well, I mean, again, and one of the reasons. Let me put a little bit of context to that. Texas is one of the few states that have not accepted the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable
Right.
Care Act. And
Right.
because most of our rural hospitals attend a whole lot of rural people who are generally poor or don't have insurance, Medicaid is what has been keeping these rural hospitals alive. And
Yeah.
therefore, as Abbott denies and for all practical purposes get Texans killed by not accepting the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, hospitals are one of the first things that close. Again, it's not only Cleveland, it occurs everywhere else. So yeah, let's be clear on that. Let's go ahead and get to Gil. Come on in, Gil.
Hello, guys. I Googled the history of the inflation rate.
Mm-hmm.
Did not under Biden, when he entered, was it inflation rate of 4%, and when he left, it was around 2%? Is that the opposite, or is that true?
No, that is true.
Inflation
Biden.
rate
No, Biden is true. Look, let me tell you, the inflation was caused by a supply chain problem created by the plutocracy, by the oligarchy, for something called just-in-time inventory. So, as it turns out, Biden managed the inflation quite well. And look, I'm not a Biden fan per se, but he did a good job in turning the mechanisms necessary to fix the problem created by the corporations. Okay, remember that offshoring means you get a flaw within the supply chain, and that's what was corrected during that time. Continue, please, Gil.
So, can we use the inflation rate as a barometer of the strength of our economy then, or is it?
No, you can't. You cannot. It's not enough. It's not enough to use inflation. You have to use inflation. You have to use GDP. You also have to use employment rate, and something that a lot of folks don't talk about. You have to use what the efficiency. In other words, it's not called. It speaks of the efficiency of or the productivity. Who gets the spoils from productivity? So while under Biden and under Democrats, the economy always does better. That's a statement of fact. Numbers tell you that. What has been bad, whether it's been a Republican or Democratic government, is that the spoils have not gone to the people who created the efficiencies. So I also add productivity to my metric. But continue, brother.
Okay. Well, that was my only question for right now. I had others, but I can't recall what they were. All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's jump to brother Mike. Come on in, Mike.
Yeah, hey, Alberto. We'll talk a lot of issues this morning, but you've been coming back around now and then on local action, you
Hmm.
know, and been talking a lot about food and groceries. Well, we've got our own Texas legislature, and they've just killed a bill that would, prevent wastewater treatment plants, in all of our municipalities from selling human waste to fertilizer companies. And those fertilizer companies have been selling human waste to our farmers here in Texas, and their fields have become poisoned with PFAS and other
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
chemicals that we are ingesting. And we can't even get our Texas legislature to prevent the spread of poisons on our own agricultural lands. It's killed cattle. Some farmers who, were kind of hoodwinked by fertilizer companies saying these are biosolids, so they come up with a fancy name
Hmm.
and it sounds all good and pure. Well, we need to go to HEB, community action. And I noticed this in studying South America while in college that a lot of community actions. The women would get out with their pans and spatulas and start beating those pans. When something's not right down at the grocery store. And so we need to ask HEB and demand that they market Texas products, Texas agriculture, Texas produce. Well, is HEB selling us poison foods? Are they getting their agricultural products that they're putting on their shelves from farmers who are contracting because it's cheaper? It's
Let me,
cheaper to buy human
yeah,
human what they call biosolids,
I
but it's
want to,
actually cattle
I want to
and
interrupt you there. I need to interrupt you there because I want to tell you that we
sure.
did a story on that. Actually, I did a story for several days exactly on that topic, where a lot of these biosolids that you're talking about were infecting the fields of many farms, right? And this goes back into when even the call that Lester called in and talked about, well, is how you eat. These guys can't have it both ways, right? We have a lot of people that are eating foods that are actually fertilized with waste. Now, let me tell you what's in waste. All the pills that people take, the Tylenols you take, the growth hormones that you take, all these things that you take that goes through your waste, both liquid waste and solid waste. Those drugs are right in there. So as you grow with those bioproducts, you're also infecting everybody with these pharmaceutical things that are out there. Again, thank you for bringing that subject up, Mike. It's very, very important.
Let me
And go ahead, and then I
just
got to go to another call.
yeah, just saying thank you. Just to close, it's House Bill 1674. It's stuck in committee. Since the deadline has passed, committees to pass bills, it would take the full House to vote, a majority vote to bring it out onto the floor. So you can contact your state legislator, but community action down at the grocery store. We need to demand from HEB managers. Where's the manager? I want to talk to the manager. I want to tell them about this. I want them to know that we know this. And we just have to stop buying Texas products in Texas agriculture. We put pressure on a big guy, HEB. I mean,
Thank
that's
you,
going to be our biggest
Mike.
line of defense.
First of all, I want to thank you for bringing up that bill because I didn't know about it. So thank you for doing that. And Neil Aquino is the expert on how these local actions occur. So as we go to Louis, thank you. Got to go, Mike. Thank you. Neil, you want to say a little 15 seconds on
Yeah.
that?
On this, I'm not versed on this specifically.
Okay. Let's go to Luis. Luis, come on in. All right. Luis will be on in a minute. Yeah, Luis,
Okay.
you're on.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know who picked more vegetables, Democrats or Republicans?
I have no idea. I don't know that that matters, but what's your point, my dear brother?
So my point was, in 2020, 81 million people picked the biggest vegetable that we voted into office. That was Joe Biden. But that's just one thing. The Alliance Clause is all nice and fine and dandy to talk about, but the Statue of Liberty was brought in with, a vote of Congress, right? $192 million piece of property that we now use as a tourist piece for people to come and visit and see and admire and see on Ellis Island when the immigrants came into America, right?
Sure.
So this airplane isn't going to be kept by Donald Trump at his house. It's just going to be used during his office, and when he's done, he's going to basically put it in front of one of our buildings to entice more people to come and visit that building. I mean, why wouldn't you accept a $400 million
Okay.
plane?
It's simply a constitutional issue. Look, Qatar can give that plane to the United States if they want to. The United States can accept it from Congress, and if Congress wants to accept that that plane from but it cannot be given to Donald Trump. It's that simple. It's just constitutional. That's all. If Qatar wants to give that plane to the United States, it's okay, but it cannot have strings attached to Donald Trump. That's simple, not difficult.
But he didn't say he's going to keep it, though.
Actually, he did say that the Trump Foundation will get the airplane after he's out of office. It did say that, and that's the attachment.
Leave it in front of
Man, if people would advocate for their own labor rights as much as they advocate for a super rich guy to have a $400 million plane.
Imagine that.
Man,
that is so true. If you heard that, Luis, if you would advocate for bettering you and your family as opposed to a $400 million plane for Donald Trump, it'll be much better. But I gotta go. Let's go to Richard. Come on in, Richard. Richard, come on in.
Yeah, your show's early in the morning. First of all, you're talking about the plane. The plane's that, and I don't want to dwell on that, but the ignorance that people talk about on that, it's just astounding. I've been around the plane before. That plane would be retrofitted, and it's going to take millions of dollars to do that by Boeing. It's not just an aircraft. So as soon as they get it in the United States, it's going to take millions of dollars. He's going to be out of office when he gets that plane. He also said he's going to use it for travel and use it for his own personal use. He did say that. I don't know why people are saying he didn't say that. Also, you talk about the immigration issue. I have never heard anybody talk about the businesses that these companies that make money off of immigrants, that hire immigrants, never have been kind of prosecuted. I have never heard anything about them being having to pay any type of fines or anything. But the people that are
Hey, Richard, I only have 3 minutes and I got 3 people to go. So thank you. Talk to me later on. You're my buddy. We'll talk a little later, brother. Let's go to Randy. Randy, 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds, Randy. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead, Randy.
Okay. Just exactly how old is this plane?
13 years old.
And do we have a crew set up, a way to make sure that everything is clear and clean on that plane for security?
Bottom line, it'll take more money to bring that plane up to code than it'll take to build a new plane. So thank you very much, Randy. I got to go. Johnny, come on in, line 1.
You just stole my thunder. It's going to cost more money to rip the plane open in order to take out the furniture and refit it with electronics and check for bugs. It's cheaper to build a new plane, which they're already doing at taxpayer money. Donald Trump will be out of office by the time that Qatar plane is ready. God, we are so wasteful. We are so wasteful.
Johnny, I got to go. Thank you for that. Got to go. And let's talk more about what's going to help people than a darn plane. Come on in, Brian. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm glad that someone brought up the Cleveland hospital being closed. What year did that take place? Answer the question. What year did the Cleveland hospital close? I'm so glad that the Democratic Party does nothing but protest illegal immigrants being evicted from the United States. Is that your party platform now?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian. Have a great day. All right, folks. Let's
yesterday for Brian's information.
The Holland, it closed yesterday.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's pass it to the studio. I mean, I didn't understand that, so I figured let's give it to Brother Howard. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, his points are kind of hard to understand. What does he want to know? What year it closed? Well, it closed yesterday, Brian. 2025. Yesterday. Did you not see that? But then again, Brian doesn't see a lot of things. As far as the healthcare goes, they talk about Lester eating right and all this other stuff. Hey, there's accidents too, you know. Accidents can happen to anybody under any health circumstances. So you need health care for accidents. So I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. Jack, what you got?
Brother.
They don't fix immigration because they don't want it fixed. It exploits the immigrant, and America benefits from the taxes they pay and the services they can't access.
There you go. Jack nails it. And, I want to welcome Margaret Ryan from Washington State. And also we have Paraver, our friend from Barcelona, Spain. Thank you for being here. And Miss Tim Marie, thank you for being here as well. Melanie Keelan as well, Glenn Rand, Lisa Blair, and all our Substacks family. Neil, give me a closer.
Source, Houston Chronicle. Houston had its hottest year ever in 2024. Record temperatures today. Corpus Christi, College Station, Houston, and Austin. Climate change is real. And come HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Always writing about local politics.
Thank you very much, my brother. I always want to call out a few of my folks on Substack. So Gayla Kunis, welcome. Patricia Ross, LBW, It's Never Happening. Rex Bayer, Susan Lively, Pamela Daniels, Carolyn Olson, Terry Toole, Gayla Kennis. Anyway, folks, politicsandright.com/newsletter is where the rest of the show is. You can call me directly or write me directly at kpft@politicsandright.com. kpft@politicsandright.com. I love you all, absolutely all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Good planet, good news. It's time now for your good news for a good planet. Many more monarchs. The monarch butterfly has been in decline for decades due to pesticides, habitat loss, and climate change, and is being considered for the endangered species list. But a recent surge in their numbers is giving conservationists hope for their future. In 2021, observers noticed a 30